The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa may continue.
Thank you very much once again, Madam Speaker. I beg to move that this House urges government to put in place modalities for the transformation of Zambia into a 24-hour economy. I thank you.
Thank you. Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Seconded by the Honorable Member for Chilubi. The question is that this House urges government to put in place modalities for transforming Zambia into a 24-hour economy. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, I want to begin by thanking you most sincerely for allowing this motion to be tabled on the floor of this august House. I also want to thank the acting clerk of the National Assembly and his entire team, the research department, for providing the right input, Madam Speaker, in bringing this conversation to Parliament. I also want to thank you most sincerely, Madam Speaker, that every time I've brought motions before this august House, your office has been noble in allowing these motions to be debated. Madam Speaker, after I left university, my first professional assignment was at a company called Luansha Copper Mines. Madam Speaker, at Luansha Copper Mines, which is applicable to all the mining houses on the copper belt, and I believe it's the practice in Northwestern, copper production, Madam Speaker, is done in shifts. What normally happens, Madam Speaker, is that from 8 hours to a certain number of hours, there will be copper production. Immediately that copper is produced, Madam Speaker, there will be another shift of workers who will be employed to undertake the next shift. What we have learned over the years, Madam Speaker, from the mining houses in Zambia is that copper production, which is the backbone of our economy, is actually anchored on a 24-hour economy. Copper is not produced only for 8 hours of the day. What is produced, Madam Speaker, in a shift of 8 hours multiplied by 3 is basically a 24-hour economy. As I stand here, Madam Speaker, I want to draw this august House to the fact that there are already certain sectors, and the specific example is mining, where copper production is actually anchored on a 24-hour economy. What that means, Madam Speaker, is that we can draw lessons. We can actually draw lessons from sectors that require the right levels of productivity to ensure, Madam Speaker, that we produce enough for our country. The point I'm making, Madam Speaker, is that this motion that I have brought today to this august House is not about whether or not we need to have a 24-hour economy. I am very confident, Madam Speaker, that this august House agrees. I think all of us agree that yes, we need to move into that direction. The argument, Madam Speaker, is about the modalities. The conversation that we should be having, Madam Speaker, is what modalities government must put in place. And that is why I want to thank the research department, because the wording of the motion is very clear. We have all agreed that Zambia needs a 24-hour economy. What is a 24-hour economy, Madam Speaker? A 24-hour economy is basically an economy that allows 3 shifts in a day. The first workers work up to 8 hours. Immediately they knock off, Madam Speaker. There's demand for goods and services. There must be workers to attend to those who come in the next shift. After those knock off, Madam Speaker, we have learned in so many other countries that there's another set of workers who are employed to attend to those who want goods and services at a later time. So the issue here, Madam Speaker, is not whether we need a 24-hour economy or not. The issue here is how soon, what modalities can government take steps to put in place these modalities that will actualize the idea of a 24-hour economy. For those that may be aware, there are countries within Africa that have actually piloted this initiative. If you go to Uganda, Madam Speaker, in the city of Kampala, they are already piloting the process of a 24-hour economy. If you go to Kenya, Madam Speaker, they are already piloting the concept of a 24-hour economy. The idea, Madam Speaker, is that we can't have productivity only during the day. The idea, Madam Speaker, is that we need productivity beyond the normal working hours. And this is why, Madam Speaker, today, even as I was coming to this August House, I was very confident that if there's one motion that will be supported by everyone, it is a motion that deals with the economy of our country. It is a motion, Madam Speaker, that deals with creating new jobs, because currently, Madam Speaker, we only create jobs for people who report for work at 7 hours. We need jobs for people that are ready to work after working hours. Now, what are these modalities? Because for people to report for work at 20 hours, Madam Speaker, we need to improve security. For people in the tourism sector to be able to receive people from outside who would be able to go around the country and support the many other subsectors, Madam Speaker, we need security. So I call upon, even as I move this motion, Madam Speaker, that this is a motion that requires the urgent attention of the Ministry of Home Affairs. This is a motion, Madam Speaker, that requires the urgent attention of the Ministry of Commerce. Urgently.
Order, Honorable Member for Kamfinsa. So the Honorable Member for Kamfinsa can continue. But please, as you continue, don't bring the research department into your debate. They were just helping you formulate the motion. It was an administrative matter. It's your motion, so debate it as such. Proceed.
Madam Speaker, before I was disturbed, I was emphasizing a point. The point I'm emphasizing, Madam Speaker, without any contradiction, is that there are two things in the motion. In the motion, there's a word that needs to be underlined, which is modalities. There's also a word that needs to be underlined in the motion, which is putting in place. Madam Speaker, when a policy and a thought and an idea has been agreed upon through national consensus, when stakeholders, when the business community has said we are ready to run shops beyond normal working hours, what remains there for, Madam Speaker, are modalities. This is why this motion, Madam Speaker, is dealing with modalities. And I was emphasizing, Madam Speaker, before the interruption, that we have sectors that are ready to provide lessons. Because when you are implementing an idea, Madam Speaker, you need to draw lessons. And one of the lessons that are relevant to this conversation are the lessons that we've learned from the mining sector. Madam Speaker, I also mentioned earlier on that we've got countries that have piloted this initiative. The idea, Madam Speaker, is that with this national consensus on what we need to do, for municipal services to be provided even in the evening, because sometimes we have workers only wanting to report for work at 8 hours. When, Madam Speaker, they can clean the streets of our cities, by the time morning comes, the city is clean. Municipal services can be provided in the evening, Madam Speaker, if we have the right modalities. The modalities, Madam Speaker, I'm referring to are security. The modalities I'm referring to, Madam Speaker, is a change in culture, in the thinking of our people. If our people believe that they can only work during the day, then we need to raise awareness. That is the role of government. So as I stand here, Madam Speaker, this motion is about our economy. This motion is about the people out there who are saying, we feel this can happen. Can we pilot it? We have cities in Zambia, Lusaka, Ndola, Livingstone. They are ready to pilot this project if government says, can you pilot it? And that is why I'm standing here, Madam Speaker. This is a motion about creating new jobs. This is a motion, Madam Speaker, about new incomes. This is a motion that allows us to do what should be done. If we don't do this today, Madam Speaker, we don't put the modalities in place, it will be sitting that there's national consensus, we've agreed. It will not happen. We have to pilot it. We have to put modalities in place. And I am confident that members of parliament that are gathered here today are aware that this is not our conversation. This is a conversation for our public, for the members of the public. That is why, Madam Speaker, when we bring motions here, it's not about the 156 MPs. It is about the country, Madam Speaker. So I'm confident, even as I wind up my debate, that both the left and the right will agree with me that the issue is not whether we should transform Zambia into a 24-hour economy or not. That we've already done. We've already agreed that we need to have a 24-hour economy. What we've not agreed is how soon these modalities could be put in place. So, Madam Speaker, I'm grateful on behalf of the people of Kamfinsa for the opportunity to share my thoughts, representing the business community out there, representing the many people that are saying, can we try this? Can the modalities be put in place? Once we do this, Madam Speaker, we'll create new jobs. We'll have municipal services done in the evening. We'll have clean cities. We'll have so many progress made over a very short period of time. If we don't do this, Madam Speaker, our neighbors will have the age that they're supposed to have. Zimbabwe will start producing goods and services that will be cheaper. They will come into our economy, we'll be complaining. Yet we have the opportunity today to produce enough for local consumption and for export. I thank you as I look at the time. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I'm going to invite the Honorable Member for Kamfinsa to wind up debate.
Madam Speaker, allow me first of all to thank your office. Standing Order number 82, Chapter 13 is very clear, Madam Speaker, and allow me to read as I wind up. 82 reads, and 1, a backbencher may introduce a private member's motion in the House, full stop. What I have done, Madam Speaker, and what I will continue doing is to comply with this guideline. The guidelines are very clear, Madam Speaker, that if I have an idea, if any member has an idea, they should put it in writing to your office, and your office, Madam Speaker, will process a motion. The reason your office allowed this debate today is because the document was screened, the need for modalities to be put in place was recognized, because if it wasn't, Madam Speaker, you would not have allowed this motion to come today. So, Madam Speaker, what we have done the last 2.5 hours is to comply with the guidelines, and in keeping with the tradition of Parliament, Madam Speaker, Parliament has a role to provide oversight. So if government has an idea, if government has a policy, and we feel that that policy is not moving at the speed at which it should move, Madam Speaker, we have a duty as Parliament, we have a duty as backbenchers to remind government of their obligations. Government is under obligation, Madam Speaker, to put modalities in place. That is the purpose of this conversation. Who has benefited from this discussion today? Number one, the public out there. The many members of the public, Madam Speaker, who are not aware that there's need for a 24-hour economy. After this discussion today, they've actually been enlightened. Where they sit in their houses, they are saying, we actually need this thing. So when we do our role, Madam Speaker, the way we've performed today, I think government must recognize that we have members of Parliament from the opposition that have the right quality. Yeah. Because our role is to bring ideas. Do you want to have an opposition member of Parliament who sits 3 hours not discussing anything? You need an opposition member of Parliament who should remind you that there's this which you have to do for the people of Zambia. And that is what we've done. So, Madam Speaker, I want to thank everyone that has debated today. This is not the last motion you are seeing. There are a lot of motions, Madam Speaker, that will come on this floor, and I'm very confident that you will allow them because they increase the knowledge in our country about the type of policies that we should have. So today, the people of Zambia are saying, this is what should happen. We should debate issues, scrutinize ideas, and ensure that these ideas are implemented. So, Madam Speaker, I want to appeal to this august House that we need to raise the productivity levels of our country, that we can't produce only during the day, that we should produce even beyond the normal working hours. So I want to appeal as I wind up. That this motion is a motion on behalf of the people of Zambia. This is not a motion for any political party. This is not a Christopher Kang'ombe motion. This is a motion that, if passed today, you are going to begin implementing the ideas. I am confident as I wind up, Madam Speaker, that whether this is voted for or not, the conversation in Zambia has changed. Those that have followed this debate for the last 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours now, actually 3 hours, Madam Speaker, they have picked very valuable lessons. This is a labor-related matter. This is a productive matter. This is a matter that relates to our people. And I'm happy that the business community out there are excited that we gave an idea to a member of parliament who took the idea to parliament. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yeah. Thank you. I put the question. The question is that this House urges the government to put in place modalities for transforming Zambia into a 24-hour economy. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no.
No.
I think the noes have it. The question is negatived.